Good morning to all. So let us see the taxation law and practice subject. We are going to the first unit. So first, let us going to see the basic concepts of income tax. So next we are going to see important definitions under Income Tax Act 1961. So next we are going to see the residential status and basis of charge. Next, heads of income. Next, distinction between the direct tax and indirect tax. And finally, we are going to see income exempted from income tax. So these are the topics we are going to discuss today class. So let us see what is the introduction about the tax. So Benjamin Franklin has given a quote, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes." So everything will be certain except and death and taxes. So this quote has given by the Benjamin Franklin. So the tax is a mandatory liability for every citizens of the country. So there are two types of taxes in India. So one is called direct tax, another one is called indirect tax. And next, let us see the brief history about the income tax in India. So in consultation with the Ministry of Law in India, the Income Tax Act 1961, it has passed in Parliament. The Income Tax Act 1961 has been brought into force with 1st April 1962. So it applies to the whole India, including Sikkim, Jammu and Kashmir. And you may raise the question, so why I have to pay the tax to the government? Because I am meeting all my expenses by my own self. I am earning my income. So why I have to pay the tax to the government? You may ask. But the government, through collecting the tax from the people, they are giving healthcare facilities. For example, they are establishing various hospitals. Through that, they are giving free treatment to the poor and needy persons. And also, they are establishing various educational institutions. So, through that, they are running various municipal and government schools. So, and also, the government of India, they are giving cooking gas at the subsidized price. And also, well, the government major expenditure is going for the army and also national defense. And also they are spending for infrastructural development of the country. For example, they are building the road, bridge, railways, and they are building the airports in various places all over the India. So these are the various ways they are spending the tax amount. The taxes are used by the government for carrying out the various welfare schemes, including employment programs. So various schemes, through that they are giving various amenities to the poor and needy people all over the India. So these are the various ways they are spending the tax amount collected from the people. So next, let us see the important terms used in income tax law. So first one, assessee, and the next one, assessment year, previous year, residential status, and total income, deductions, and heads of income. So these are the various topics we are very important in income tax. So let us see first, what is the definition of assessee? So as per the section 27 of the Income Tax Act 1961, unless the context otherwise requires the term, assessee means a person by whom any tax or any other sum of money is payable under this act. So any person is liable to pay the tax, that person is called an assessee. So next, let us see what is the meaning of representative assessee or deemed assessee. A person may not be liable only for his own income or loss, but also on the income or loss of the other person. For example, he may be the guardian or minor or lunatic or any agent of resident, non-resident. So these are the person, they are called as representative assessee. In such these cases, the person responsible for the assessment of the income of such persons are called representative assessee. So such as person is deemed to be an assessee. So next, let us see the assessee in default. A person is deemed to be an assessee in default if he fails to fulfill his statutory obligations. In case of an employer paying salary or a person who is paying interest, it is their duty to deduct the tax at source and deposit the amount of tax collected in government treasury. So if he fails to deduct tax at source or deduct tax but does not deposit it in the treasury, so he is known as assessee in default. So next, let us go for the term used as assessment year. So in income tax, the assessment year means the period starting from 1st April of this year and ending with the 31st March of the next year. So for example, if you are taking the assessment year for April 2021 and ending with March 2022. So next, let us go for the term previous year. So the previous year is also one of the important terms used in income tax. It means the financial year immediately preceding the assessment year. So already we have seen what is the assessment year. So if the assessment year is April 2021 to March 2022, the previous year will be the immediate preceding year of the assessment year. So for example, financial year April 2022 March 2021. So that is called previous year. So let us go for the next term is residential status. So what is the residential status? So there are three important status has given in India to the people of India. So they may be called as resident, they may be called as non-resident, NRI. So they may be called as resident but not ordinary resident. So first one, let us go for the resident. So the whole income is taxable in India. The resident who is earning the income, the whole income is taxable in India. So that is called resident of India. So next one, NRI, non-resident of India. So only the income arising or accruing in India is taxable in India. If any person is called as NRI, if their income arising or accruing in India is only taxable in India. And the next one, who will be called as resident but not ordinary resident. So their income accruing or arising outside India may also be taxable in India. So let us see who will be called as resident as per the income tax law 1961. So on the basis of the stay in India computed separately every year, if any person satisfies any one of the following conditions, he will be called as resident of India. So first condition, he is in India for a period of 182 days or more in financial year. So then he will be called as resident of India. Or otherwise, second condition, so he is in India for 60 days or more during that particular financial year and has been in India for 365 days or more during previous 4 years immediately preceding the relevant financial year. So he also may be called as resident of India. So either one condition he has to fulfill, then only he will be called as resident of India. So next let us see who will be called as non-resident of India. An assessee who does not fulfill any of the above two conditions, he would be regarded as non-resident. So he has not fulfilled above said the two conditions, then he will be called as non-resident of India. So next third one is resident but not ordinary resident. So if an individual qualifies as a resident, the next step is to determine whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or he is a resident but not ordinary resident. So how we can determine? So he will be a resident, ordinary resident if he meets both of the following conditions. So two conditions definitely he should meet out, then only he will be called as resident, ordinary resident. So first condition, he has been a resident of India in at least 2 out of 10 years immediately preceding the previous years. And the second condition, he has to stay in India for at least 730 days in 7 immediately preceding years. So if he fulfills those two conditions, then he will be called as resident ordinary resident. So therefore, if any individual fails to satisfy even any one of the above conditions, he will be an resident, not ordinary resident. So these are the three residential status prevailing as per the Income Tax Act in India. So one, either he may be called as a resident, or he may be called as non-resident of India, or he may be called as a resident but not ordinary resident. And next, let us go for the concept of total income. So under the section 245 of the Income Tax Act 1961 defines the total income means the total amount of income referred to the section 5 and computed in the manner laid down in this act. According to this act, the income of a person is computed in 5 parts. Each part is known as head of income. So he may get the income from the salary, first head. Second head, he may get the income from house property. Third one, he may get the income from business or profession. And the fourth one, he may get the income from capital gains. And last one, he may get the income from other sources. So these are all called heads of income. So totally put together, this is called the total income of any person in India. And next, let us see, the tax will be classified into 2 categories. One is called direct tax, another one is called indirect tax. So what is the meaning of direct tax? The tax which is paid directly by the person on whom it is imposed, it is called direct tax. For example, I am liable to pay the tax to the government of India. So then I will be called, that is, I am paying directly the tax to the income tax authority. So that is called direct tax. So there is a direct connection between the taxpayer and the tax levying authorities. So the direct tax includes income tax, wealth tax, corporate tax, gift tax, estate duty. So these are all called direct tax. So the tax paying person is directly contacting the tax paying authorities. So that is called direct tax. And the next one is called indirect tax. The tax which is not paid directly by the person on whom it is imposed is an indirect tax. See, I am liable to pay the tax, but I am not paid directly to the income tax authority. So that amount has paid through some other person. So that is called indirect tax. So in this case, the burden partly or wholly the shift to the other person. So that is the person bearing the tax and the person paying the tax are not the same. So there is no direct connection between the taxpayer and the tax levying authorities. So income tax, for example, indirect tax includes custom duty, excise duty, sales tax, service tax, VAT, value added tax. Earlier these are the tax were there in India, but now everything has abolished and it has come as GST. Goods and service tax. So this is an example for the indirect tax. So whatever the product and services we are using in India, for all the products almost, so we are paying GST. And next we are going to the differences between, see the differences between the direct tax and indirect tax. So first one, based on the imposition. So it is imposed on the income conducted activities. So whatever the income you are having, based on that income you have to pay the tax. And indirect tax, if you see, it is based on the goods and services. If you are purchasing any goods and services in India, so automatically you will be charged GST. So that is based on the imposition. Second one, based on the taxpayer. The direct taxpayer is an individual or an organization. They are directly paying the tax to the tax levying authorities, income tax authorities. But in indirect tax, every consumer who buys the goods or services pay the indirect tax. And the next, transferability. Based on the transferability, so the direct tax, in the event of direct tax, the tax has to be paid by an individual, it cannot be transferred. So that particular person tax we cannot transfer to some other person. So he is only liable to pay to the income tax authorities. And next, if you are seeing the indirect tax, the indirect taxes can be transferred from one person to the another person. If wholesaler has not paid, the retailer will pay. If the retailer is not paid, the final consumer will pay. So the tax amount will be transferred from one person to another person. And the fourth one, impact on inflation. So if you are seeing the direct tax can be used to reduce inflation. So if the inflation rises, the direct tax can be increased to curb the demand and control inflation. But if you are seeing the indirect tax, the increase in indirect tax leads to an increase in inflation. Because if you are increasing the GST, automatically the prices of the commodities will increase. So if the prices of the commodities will increase, automatically the inflation rate also will increase. And the next, based on the tax evasion. So owing to the lack of administration, the tax evasion is possible in direct tax. So a person may or may not pay the tax to the income tax authorities. Okay, tax evasion possibilities is there for direct tax. But for the indirect tax, the possibility is very, very less. Because whenever the person is buying the goods and services, automatically that GST will be charged from the price and that amount will be paid to the income tax authorities. And the next, based on the nature, sixth point. And direct tax in India is imposed on individuals' income and it is progressive in nature. So in India, are paid after the citizen gets his her salary. So whatever the salary we have got, so based on that we will pay the tax. If this month I am getting salary, I will pay the tax. If I am not getting salary, I won't pay the tax. But in indirect tax is regressive in nature. So to all end consumers have to pay it regardless of their income. So whether they are having the income or not. So if they are buying any product and services, so obviously they have to pay the indirect tax. And the seventh point, wider coverage. So for the direct tax, it is only applicable to the people within the particular tax brackets. Okay, for example, in India, so up to 5 lakhs we no need to pay the tax. So after 5 lakhs, we are having some tax tables. Okay, slab we are having. Okay, so based on that, they will pay the tax to the income tax authorities. But for the indirect tax, ensures wide coverage as anyone who purchases goods and services. So if he is purchasing the luxurious goods or he may purchase an ordinary goods, so they have to obviously pay the tax. And eighth point, administrative cost. So direct taxes have many exemptions and involve high administrative cost. So we have to appoint so many persons to collect the tax from the people. Okay, so we are having more administrative cost for the direct tax. But for the indirect tax, we are not having that much administrative cost because automatically that amount will come from the either the manufacturer or the wholesaler or retailer, it will come automatically to the government. Okay, so the administrative cost will be very, very less in indirect cost. Okay, so last topic we are going to see that exempted income. So section 10 of Income Tax Act 1961 has given a long list of incomes which are totally exempt from tax, and so these income are not included in the gross total income of the assessee. So in other words, such income are totally tax free in India. For example, the income is generated from agriculture. So agricultural income, according to section 10(1), it is fully exempted in India. So through the agriculture, if you are earning any amount, okay, it may be in thousands or it may be in lakhs or it may be in crores, you no need to pay any tax in India. And also another one example we can give, any sum if you are receiving from Hindu undivided family business, okay, so that amount also is fully exempted from tax. So that is the section 10(1) of Income Tax Act defines. So these are the various exemptions are there for the income tax in India. So let us conclude once again. So we have seen first what is the meaning of tax, okay, and next we have seen when the tax has implemented in India, and next we have seen why we have to pay the tax to government of India, and next we have seen what is the meaning of assessee, what is the meaning of assessment year, what is the meaning of previous year, what is the meaning of residential status, what is the meaning of gross income deduction, and next we have seen what is the meaning of representative assessee or the deemed assessee, assessee in default, and also we have seen who will be called as resident of India, non-resident of India, and resident but not ordinary resident we have seen, and next we have seen what is the meaning of heads of income. So what are the various heads are there in gross income of any person in India, and we have seen that what is the meaning of direct tax, what is the meaning of indirect tax, what about the differences between the direct tax and indirect tax we have seen, and finally we have seen what are the various exempted income from the tax. So these are the various topics we have seen in today's class. So I hope all of you have understood very well. So thank you very much for your patience. So let us conclude the session. Thank you.